Okay, Catherine, we're all set.
All right, it is me. I am obviously not Sandy Hertz. I'm filling in for Sandy as project subcommittee chair for this afternoon's meeting. Thank you for joining. We're holding this meeting virtually using Microsoft Teams, and a video of this meeting will be provided online to comply with open meetings requirements. A couple of rules during the subcommittee meeting this morning. Microphones are muted. Please hold questions and comments until the end of each presentation. Announce yourself by name. If you're joining by phone, use *6 to unmute. And I do see Commissioner Barney Alvarado has the chat access, so we'll be referencing that. The public was invited to submit comments, and if those were received, they will be read by program staff during the presentation. Kate, I guess I'll turn it to you for roll call.
Actually, it's going to be Annie Sakarik is going to be doing the
okay, Annie.
Today.
Hi, yeah, I'm filling in today. All right, so I'm just going to go down my list here of the commissioners that I see in the participants list. So I have Commissioner McCall, Commissioner Grant, Commissioner Laird, Commissioner McDowell, Commissioner Parker, Commissioner Robertson, and Commissioner Barney Alvarado. And if I missed anybody, please let me know. And then also quickly, I did want to point out that you may have noticed that Teams formatting kind of changed a little bit. So there is the mute button and the camera button on the upper right-hand corner of your screen. And then there's also, if you go over a little bit to the left, you'll see kind of a face with a hand in front. That's how you can raise your hand. So if you could remain on mute, but then raise your hand if you have a question, and Commissioner McCall will be able to call on you and take questions in a somewhat orderly fashion. But I think that covers it in terms of roll call. So I'll turn it back over to you, Commissioner McCall.
Thank you, Annie, and thanks for reorienting us to Teams. I will do my best to work us through the agenda here today. The first project that we're going to be discussing is the Maryland Department of Transportation MDOT Update to General Approval MOU. This was originally discussed at the April 7th, 2021 critical area meeting, and it was updated following additional discussion about per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, PFAS, and this will be presented by Susan McCloof. We do have John Deniston here from MDOT that will be available to answer questions. So with that, I will go ahead and turn it over to you, Susan.
Thank you, Chair McCall. Just need a moment here to pull up the presentation. Okay, do you all see the presentation now?
Yes.
Looks good.
Okay, great. Oops. Yeah. So good morning again. This is Susan McCloof, and I will be presenting an amendment to the Maryland Department of Transportation Memorandum of Understanding with the Critical Area Commission, better known as the MDOT MOU. So before we get started, I would like to give you a brief outline for today's presentation. First, we'll review the condition included in the approval of the MDOT MOU Exhibit A2, or the MAA exhibit, at the April Commission meeting. Then I'll review the PFAS update that was presented to the project subcommittee at the June Commission meeting. Finally, we'll review the language in the draft amendment to the MDOT MOU, and there will be time for questions at the end. So as you recall, at the April 7th, 2021 meeting, the Critical Area Commission voted to approve the MAA exhibit to the Memorandum of Understanding between the Commission and the Maryland Department of Transportation. Exhibit A2 was approved with a condition requested by the project subcommittee that the Commission staff work with MAA to determine how per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, or PFAS, contamination reporting requirements could be incorporated into either Exhibit A2 or into the overall MDOT MOU in order to cover all MDOT transportation business units, or TBUs. So to address this condition, that the Commission determine how PFAS reporting requirements could be incorporated into either the MOU or the individual exhibits, the following actions were taken. A meeting was held on May 17, 2021, with staff from MDE, the Critical Area Commission, DNR, and MDOT in attendance. A memo was sent to the project subcommittee. A draft amendment to the MDOT MOU was composed, and critical area staff gave an update to the project subcommittee and the full commission at the June 2nd, 2021 meeting. The update to the project subcommittee in June included a summary of the May 17th meeting and a discussion of current federal and state efforts regarding PFAS research, sampling, and testing. The draft amendment was also presented to the project subcommittee for review at the June commission meeting. In addition, the MDOT secretary has reviewed and approved the draft amendment. The proposed amendment cites Natural Resources Article 8, 1814C regarding the applicability of other laws, in which states the following. This subtitle is not intended to relieve any obligation otherwise imposed by law or regulation to obtain licenses, permits, or approvals from state and local regulatory agencies, or to comply with applicable state and local regulatory prohibitions or restrictions. Therefore, the amendment clarifies that all projects must comply with all applicable state and local requirements. The amendment also states that the Commission must be notified when any controlled hazardous substance or chemical is known to be found on site, and that all projects must comply with the state's water quality standards. So this slide contains the specific language that would be inserted after Section 311 of the MDOT MOU. As a reminder, Section 3 is the part of the MOU that outlines the process that must be followed for projects reviewed under the MOU. So Section 312 would read, each TBU, when conducting development activities in the critical area, shall ensure that the TBU complies with all applicable federal, state, and local requirements. Section 313 would read, each TBU, when conducting development activities in the critical area, shall notify the Commission if the TBU is or becomes aware of controlled hazardous substances or chemical contamination of soil or water, and shall adhere to the state water quality standards. The draft amendment also includes the language shown on this slide regarding electronic signatures. This part of the proposed amendment is not related to the PFAS reporting issue. Rather, it is based on discussions with Emily Vanieri, Assistant Attorney General, who recommended that this language be included in all critical area MOUs to clarify that electronic signatures are legally the same as original signatures. And this language would be inserted on page 7 of the MOU after Section 9.9. And as a reminder, Section 9 of the MOU contains the general provisions. So Section 9.10 would read, electronic signatures. Signatures provided by electronic means, including, by way of example and not of limitation, facsimile, Adobe, PDF, and sent by electronic mail or via an electronic signature program, shall be deemed to be original signatures. So thank you for your attention. I will now turn it back over to the subcommittee chair for any questions you may have.
Thanks, Susan. It's nice to hear the update, and thank you everybody for your engagement on this over the last quarter. Are there any questions from any of the commissioners? I don't see anything in the chat at the moment. And I don't think I see any raised hands.
I don't see any raised hands or chats either.
Thank you. Did any members of MDOT or John, did you want to address the subcommittee?
No, the only thing that Sandy had asked me to express is the secretary was, he was in favor of the proposed changes. Okay.
All right, thank you so much. So with that, seeing no hands or comments, I want to read the motion first. So on behalf of the project subcommittee, well, I move that the commission approve the text. Sorry, I need to ask for a motion first. I'm sorry. Can I get a motion to move forward a recommendation? I guess I can read that.
This is Commissioner Robertson. Motion for approval. Or, yeah, is that one?
Sorry, I'm practicing. All right, let me read this first. I think that's the order I'm supposed to go. Not my apologies. On behalf of the project subcommittee, I move that the commission approve the text amendments to the Maryland Department of Transportation Memorandum of Understanding with the Critical Area Commission in accordance with the staff report and presentation. So now I will ask for a motion to approve.
Commissioner Robertson, motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Robertson. In a second.
Commissioner
Commissioner
Laird,
Grant,
second.
second.
I heard Commissioner Grant, so I'll go with that one. And let's get all of those in favor. Say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you, Commissioner Varney Alvarado, for aye. Hearing no opposed. Any abstentions? Hearing none. I think that wraps this agenda item up. Thank you so much. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to the second part of our agenda this morning. The second project that we're going to be hearing about and discussing is the Maryland Department of Natural Resources Smallwood State Park Campground Loop Upgrade. This will be presented by Tay Harris. So I'll turn it over to you, Tay.
Thanks, Catherine. I've got to get this up on my screen, so just a minute. I think I'm sharing the wrong thing. Hold on. Okay, let me try this again. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, so as Catherine said, this is Tay Harris. I'm here to present the DNR Smallwood State Park Campground Improvement Project. Before I do that, I'd like to make two announcements. Your staff report has been revised to reflect that DNR has submitted a planting plan and a planting agreement to this office since the first staff report was sent to you all. So those changes are reflected in the current staff report. And then I'd also like to welcome Leanne Chandler, who's representing DNR, to this meeting.
Hey, everyone.
Hi, Leanne. Okay, so the Smallwood State Park Campground contains 21 mini cabins and traditional RV tent camp pad sites. DNR proposes to repair existing campsites, add 4 new campsites and replace 2 mini cabins, replace in kind the 40-year-old bathhouse, and repave the access road and expand the turnaround for RVs, as well as replace the septic system drainage field and upgrade the septic system with enhanced nutrient removal technologies. This project is being brought to you as per COMAR 270205, state agency actions resulting in development on state-owned lands, as well as COMAR 270206, conditional approval of state or agency or local agency programs in the critical area. This project requires conditional approval because of the proposed impacts to the expanded buffer. So the project location is seen up in the vicinity map, and it's in Charles County, located on the western shore of the Mattawoman Creek. The project site is located here within the 628-acre state park site. The project site comprises of 1.82 acres, and of that site, 1.52 acres is in the critical area on lands designated resource conservation area. The campground is located on an elevated peninsula encompassed by steep slopes and wetlands on both sides. Therefore, the buffer is expanded due to steep slopes. And you will also find FIDS habitat present on site. The buffer impacts, here I've outlined the buffer so that it shows up better for you guys. The buffer impacts include 0.05 acres of FIDS habitat clearing, as you can see at the bottom of the site plan circled in red, and then the emplacement of 0.04 acres of lot coverage as shown in purple thatching, also circled in the red, and the removal of 0.01 acres of lot coverage as shown in the red thatching, also shown in the red circles. And finally, temporary impacts to the buffer include ground disturbance comprising of 0.28 acres. There are also impacts outside the buffer, and they include FIDS habitat clearing of 0.55 acres, lot coverage and placement of 0.33 acres, as shown in the purple thatching in the red circles, and also the removal of lot coverage as shown in the purple thatching in the red circles of 0.17 acres. And then finally, the temporary impacts outside the buffer are due to ground disturbance and comprise of 1.54 acres. DNR is proposing to locate the mitigation off-site due to the fact that the project site is heavily forested. So buffer mitigation will equate to 0.44 acres and accounts for 11.11 acres for lot coverage impacts at a rate of 3-to-1, 0.05 acres for clearing impacts at a rate of 1-to-1, and 0.28 acres of mitigation for temporary impacts at a rate of 1-to-1. And then DNR also proposes to provide mitigation of 0.5 acres for clearing impacts outside of the buffer at a rate to 1-to-1. This equates to 0.94 acres and will be realized in FIDS habitat reforestation. DNR is also required to reduce pollutant loads annually by 0.53 pounds. DNR proposes to achieve this by emplacing permeable pavers underneath the campsites, which will achieve 0.72 pounds of phosphorus reduction annually. DNR also has presented the findings for coastal resilience, and they include shoreline changes include both accretion and erosion. There are no new impacts in the proximity of tidal wetlands or wetland migration areas. The bathhouse and the mini cabins are located outside of the 100-year and 500-year floodplains. And the campground is elevated above mean high water 12 to 30 feet. So most of the site is insulated from storm surge, except for the area circled in black. And then all of the site is insulated from sea level rise. The status of other agency reviews includes DNR's Wildlife and Heritage Service found that there are FIDS habitat, as mentioned before, on site, and there are no concerns with the proposed development activities. Maryland Historical Trust finds that there are no impacts to historical properties or archaeological areas on site. And MDE's sediment and erosion control and stormwater management approvals are pending. Posted on site on July 24th, 2021, and the project was posted in the Maryland Independent on July 30th, 2021, and there have been no public comments received. Because DNR proposes non-water dependent development activities that impact the buffer, a conditional approval from the Critical Area Commission is required, and in accordance with COMAR 2702-0601, DNR has submitted information to meet the conditional approval requirements. DNR must show the project has the following features. There are special features on site that if the critical area regulations were implemented in full, it would prohibit the project from occurring. So the special features on site include the expanded buffers due to steep slopes. DNR must also show that the proposed project otherwise provides substantial public benefits. And this project will increase the public's ability to engage in recreational activities in the critical area. And in addition, otherwise the project must be in conformance with subtitle 270205. So impacts to the expanded buffer have been minimized. In-kind replacement occurs wherever possible. Mitigation and 10% rule offsets will be implemented, and the septic system will be upgraded with ENR technologies, which improve water quality. In addition, the conditional approval must demonstrate the following. The literal enforcement of 270205 would prevent the proposed activity. So if the buffer requirements were enforced, the access road would continue to grade and limit access to campers. Aging cabins could not be replaced or repaired, and the aging bathhouse could not be replaced. So therefore, again, as mentioned in the previous slide, there are increased opportunities for recreational activities to people in the critical area due to this project. The conditional approval must also demonstrate that the project conforms insofar as possible with the approved local critical area program. And as mentioned previously, impacts have been expanded to the expanded buffer have been minimized. No impacts are new impacts are located further from the water than existing impacts. And the conditional approval must demonstrate that mitigation measures are offered to offset the adverse effects. As mentioned previously, impacts to expanded buffer will be mitigated through FIDS habitat reforestation and the emplacement of permeable pavers on site. So with the conditional approval process, the commission also will consider the following factors: the extent to which the project complies with the relevant chapters of COMAR 270206, the adequacy of the proposed required mitigation measures that cannot be met on site by the project, and then the extent to which the project, including any mitigation measures, provides substantial public benefits to the critical area program. So given all that information, the critical area staff recommends the following. Prior to the start of construction, DNR shall provide commission staff with MDE's approval of stormwater management and sediment and erosion control plans. I think that should say plan approvals. Are there any questions?
Tay, were you just suggesting that what you had on the screen should be different?
Right, I think there might be, I think I should probably put, let's see, provide staff, commission staff with MD, oh no, approval's in there, I apologize. DNR shall provide commission staff with MD's approval of stormwater management and sediment erosion plans. No, I think that's adequate.
Okay, that's what was in the staff report, so thank you for clarifying that. I appreciate you doing the presentation, Tay. Thank you so much. Are there any questions from any of the commissioners?
I see that Commissioner Roberson has her hand raised.
Hi, thanks. I just have a quick question regarding the mitigation. When you showed the sea level rise, impacts, I can't recall, did you show how the mitigation project could potentially, did it include the mitigation area? And I apologize if I might have missed the map. And so I just wanted to go back and just kind of look at the mitigation and see how that relates to that with the sea level rise. So it's pretty far inland. Okay.
Right. I'm not sure. Maybe Leanne can speak to this more too. That the area is highly forested, so there was very limited area. So they picked, FIDS habitat reforestation along the edge of existing FIDS habitat. So obviously to enhance the existing FIDS in the area.
And generally, the elevation of the proposed mitigation site is similar to that of the campground. It's at like 20 feet above tidal waters. So fingers crossed that it is safe.
All right. No, thank you. I don't know if that was in our staff report, that, that picture right there. And so I just wanted to kind of get that just clarification of the location in regards to, the shoreline. So thank you for that clarification.
Sure.
Thanks, Leanne. Thanks, Commissioner Roberson. Any other questions?
I don't see any questions in the chat or any other hands raised at the moment.
Okay. All right. So with no, were there any other members, public comments submitted? You mentioned some of those too.
I don't believe we had any comments.
All right, so I guess with no further questions, let me read this one. This one being a conditional approval. Give me a minute to read this. So the motion would be, on behalf of the project subcommittee, I move that the commission approve the proposed improvements to the camping facilities loop at Smallwood State Park, including 4 new camp pads, 21 refurbished camp pads, bathhouse replacement septic system and drainage field, and widened roadway for improved accessibility. This motion is offered in accordance with the staff report and presentation and the following condition. Prior to the start of construction, DNR shall provide commission staff with MDE's approval of stormwater management and sediment and erosion control plans. As required by Code of Maryland regulations, this motion is based on the following considerations: for public benefits, mitigation measures that can't be met by the project, the extent that the project is in compliance with subtitle requirements. Those include the proposed improvements are to existing facilities and mostly in kind. Except for impacts to the critical area buffer, which has been expanded for steep slopes, there are no other impacts to habitat protection areas. As a result, the proposed project is in compliance with the relevant chapters of the subtitle. 2, the department will use permeable pavement in order to exceed stormwater management requirements and disturbances to buffer an edge. Forest interior dwelling species habitat is being mitigated at ratios in accordance with critical area regulations. The proposed mitigation, while outside the critical area, will expand existing FIDS habitat. 3, the proposed project offers public benefits to the critical area program by selecting a design that redevelops the camping loop at Smallwood State Park, while minimizing to the extent possible impacts to the critical area buffer and adjacent forest. Additionally, the new bathhouse will be connected to a new septic system and reserve area based on enhanced nutrient removal technology, thereby improving water quality impacts. So I'd like to ask for a motion for that, for approval.
Commissioner Robertson, motion for approval.
Thank you, Commissioner Robertson. Can I get a second?
Second, Mangum.
Thank you, Commissioner Magnum. All of those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? All right, thank you. And Commissioner Varney Alvarado, I do see your aye in the chat box. Thank you so much. So with that, I think that concludes all of the business for the project subcommittee this morning, and we will be back for the full commission meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.